Hi, everybody. My name is Jeff Ihara. You can call me Jeff, that's fine. Um, Welcome to BIO110. I'm here to get you started in the content for BIO110. Hopefully you're getting to this video before our first meeting on August 22nd. And so this counts as lecture 1A. Let me show you what it's going to look like. Normally, you won't be seeing my face at the very beginning of a lecture. That's going to happen. Maybe not at all, but usually there'll be some camera activity. I think it's going to be like in the upper right-hand corner. So I don't know if this is the case. I don't really have that great control over where the camera image appears. Sometimes you'll see it, sometimes you won't. Sometimes I actually need to scooch it way over to the right. Actually, what I do is I increase the size of the whiteboard so that you can't see the picture of me over on the right-hand side. I don't think you're going to miss having my face talking to you the whole time. So let me get you started on what it's going to look like in this class. Okay, so first of all, we will get to the Canvas class really soon. But usually when I give you a lecture, we're going to start off on a whiteboard sheet that looks like this, starting with the lecture that we're looking at. So this counts as lecture 1A, class information. We have readings for today. I don't expect you to have read everything before this particular video, but in the future, starting with lecture 1B, the readings for that video, which will actually be listed at the very start of the video, will be expected that you go through the text content before coming to the video. I actually have made these videos. I spent the last 3 weeks putting together a whole bunch of videos which cover the lecture, and I'm making the lectures complement and coordinate with the textbook as much as possible. Far more than I have ever done in any class that I've taught in my long career. Usually, I'm not that much of a stickler for staying really close to the textbook. I thought I'd try it for your class. Okay. Yeah, you'll see readings from the textbook. I'll show you how to find out what those readings are without actually having to open the video. That's going to be one of the things I'm having you read for right now. So right now I'm kind of struggling to make this thing move. Okay, so I've got these different controls on my screen. And if you see my cursor moving around, it's probably because I'm trying to move these things out of the way so I can see what I'm working. So yeah, we're going to go through the syllabus. And there's also another sheet. It's actually a 3-page Google sheet that gives you essential information about the class. And let's go ahead and get started with the Canvas materials that you have access to. Right. So, okay, found it. Here we are on the Canvas class. This is the way you're seeing it. The student view is a little bit different from the instructor view. The color codes are different. You might not see it exactly the same way because this is special student view that's made for instructors. But basically the controls you have here, you've got a navigator board over on the left-hand side. You've got a higher level Canvas control panel way over on the left-hand side. And then you've got the actual class content here. You must have gotten here already because you have clicked on this link, lecture 1A. You must have clicked on this link to get to the video that you're watching right now. Hey, wait a minute, right? If I'm in this video, what would happen if I were to click on this right now? Should I do it? No, I'm not going to do it. Any case, you know what things look like. What I want to show you right now is this, essential info for BIO110. And actually, I already have it open. And so what we're looking at here is the, think about this as the surrogate to the grade book, right? I know that probably a lot of you have taken a class in Canvas before, and you know that there's this grade book that keeps the records of what your grades are for the different things that are graded for the entire semester. In my class, it doesn't quite work as well as it does for most other instructors. And the main reason for that is that I've got these kind of floating point assignments, like the discussion board. I expect you to get 26 points. I require that you get 26 points over the entire semester, but you've got many different slots in which you could actually achieve those 26 points. Now, to create these assignments, I had to make a number of points that are possible. So I basically set the limit for each one of these. So basically, each one of these stars is set to an assignment that's worth 9 points. It's not that I expect you to get 9 points on every one of these. No, that's not the case. In fact, you should be aware of that. And so with a discussion board, what I would like you to be aware of is that you can get up to 9 points per discussion board, but for the entire semester, you need to get 26, right? Which means, posting for 9 points every time is going to get you way more than what you really need. And that might not be the best use of your time. Right? Yeah, I mean, you should probably target more than 26 points in case you don't get full credit on some of your posts. More on that a little bit later, but yeah, I mean, this is a reason though why we don't have the Canvas gradebook being a very accurate way of keeping track of your grades. That's it. So in lieu of using the Canvas gradebook, what I recommend is that you make a copy. You can go over here, click make a copy. You can make a copy of this grade sheet, have it in your own Google Drive, and you can keep track of the points that you're getting on every one of the assignments that we have over the course of the semester, and you'll know exactly how well you're doing. BIO110. Okay, so that's the first page in this. Second page in this are the actual titles of the lecture. So this is the lecture that you're in. You know that the reading for today is the syllabus, and the due date for this lecture is August 29th, right? This, by the way, is the video that I'm making for my class in the fall semester of 2022. If I get lazy and decide to reuse the same video in the spring of 2023, please forgive me. I probably got really busy at the end of the break of the winter break, and I didn't have a chance to recut the video, but I'm sure you can figure out what's going on. So yeah, never mind, because I'm probably going to recut the video, and so you're probably listening to this as a student in Bio 110 in the fall semester of 2022, right? The readings are here. Next lecture is going to be life's characteristics. The reading is going to be chapter 1, sections 1, 2, and 3. And you might notice that the actual readings are not very extensive for most of the lectures. I try to narrow what I talk about in the lecture videos to what is there in the textbook, emphasizing the points that I think are really important, or reiterating some of the instruction on those issues where I think there's an opportunity for challenge. Students might have difficulty with this, so maybe hearing it in the spoken words by the instructor is going to help. So in other words, I've really tried to keep my video lectures closely tied to the textbook, although sometimes I stray from that. That's what you should be expecting as far as the lectures go, right? The third page that we have here is something that I put together for due dates. And I just want you to be aware that this is there, and so there should be no confusion about when things are due, right? Mondays before our class meetings will be the principal due date for most things that we have in Bio 110. The pre-labs for any given meeting, like the pre-lab you did for August 22nd, which was the lab on the metric system, you need to have the pre-lab done before our meeting, right? For that particular one, I'll be a little bit flexible because it is the first day. So on that first pre-lab of the metric system, that one's actually okay if you get to it a little bit after the 22nd of August, right? But starting with August 29th, the pre-lab, the activity for August 29th is the scientific method, and you need to have completed the pre-lab for the scientific method laboratory before the August 29th, right? On August 29th, you should have completed and submitted the complete lab packet for the metric system laboratory, the one that we're doing on the first week, right? The lectures, all lectures for Module 1 are due at the beginning of class on August 29th, right? And so, yeah, these things are the Zoom room challenges. The Zoom room challenge we go through on August 22nd. That will be due on August 29th at noon. And so no confusion, things have to be submitted and done before the starting time for our class. Okay? The one exception is the discussion boards, because on August 29th, that will be the day where we actually have a chance to talk about some of the lecture content for Module 1. And if you if you're ready to answer some of the questions, but you weren't quite sure, maybe you wanted to ask a question, or maybe you wanted to hear some instruction from me, and then maybe after our meeting on August 29th, you felt a lot more comfortable answering the question. It's okay for you to do that. I'm making the due date for the discussion board the day after, and you'll have all the way till midnight, right? And so Tuesdays at midnight at the end of the day, that's going to be the due date that we have for the module discussions, right? For those weeks in which we have module discussions due, right? The last thing that we have here are the exam weeks, and we've got 3 major exams for the class. Exam 1, Exam 2, and Exam 3. They're largely non-cumulative. I mean, like Exam 1 will cover mostly what we go through in the first third of the semester. Exam 2 will mostly be covering what we do in the second third of the semester, and the last one will cover the last part of the semester, although there will be some sprinkling of questions from earlier, right? That's a little note. And so basically these 3 pages, starting with the grade breakdown, which is the first page you'll come to when you click on that link from the Canvas page, right? So that's what happens when you get there. Okay. I do have the first 3 chapters in Campbell available for you on a PDF. These will give you the content from Campbell in PDF form. I only do this for chapters 1, 2, and 3 because by the time we get to the content of chapter 4, that will have given you plenty of time to get your own copy of the textbook. Now, let's go back to our original share, which is the whiteboard. And I'll get back to my drawing mode. And so, let's go ahead and look at the syllabus, right? I reminded myself of this because I always ask this myself, why is my syllabus so ridiculously long? I mean, it's not just mine, right? The days of 1-page syllabi are long gone, right? Back in the day when I went to college, the syllabus was a sheet of paper that you got on the first day of class, told you what we're going to do. Very, very, very briefly, a page. We talked about pretty much everything that was there on the syllabus on the first day. And at that point, people mostly just filed the syllabus, never looked at it again, or sometimes they got thrown out. Very few people paid attention to what was on the syllabus after the first day of class, right? Now, syllabi are a lot longer. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So I do need to at least show you what the syllabus looks like, and you go here to get to the syllabus. And yeah, this is a long sucker, right? It goes on forever and ever, right? And so, but there's a lot of information here. Every piece of information that's on the syllabus is going to be potentially useful, right? That's kind of like the point, right? It goes on and on and on and on. Talks about bad extra credit, talks about, and then, but at the end, you get, it's not, the syllabus is over at this point, right? But by the time you get to the very end, it also lists, and on Canvas, it lists all the assignments that are due over the entire semester, okay? The reason why syllabi at MiraCosta are so long is because we have a syllabus checklist, right? This is a document that we get from our bosses. It tells us what we need to have in the syllabus, right? And this is just the instructions on what needs to go in the syllabus. And it goes on for pages and pages and pages. So if I were to actually do everything that was on this checklist, it would be way longer than the checklist itself. And I don't think it is, okay? Which probably means that I have not done everything that I needed to do on the checklist, which is why I'm not going to let you see this any longer. And I'll go back to my actual syllabus, right? What I'm telling you is that I really do not want to go through the syllabus point by point with you with this video. That would take way, way, way too long, and I'm not ready to do that. I want to go through the things that I think are really important for you to know right now, and I'll ask you to read the syllabus on your own. I mean, if you want little instructor's recommendations on how to take notes, there's that, and more information about the Oxford meetings, textbook information about the student learning objectives. Very, very, very extremely ridiculously important for some people. And we have additional information about discussion boards and a link to the student support guide. Okay, please do that. If you are having any kind of issues and need some help, do look there. If anybody has disability, there's some information about how you can go about getting accommodations to make you succeed in the class, as though it were a level playing field with people that do not have that disability. Okay? So yeah, there's a lot of information in the syllabus. Without my going through every item point by point, I'll just leave it up to you to read it. Okay, let's go back to the whiteboard share. Okay, that didn't work. Okay, now we're back here. Okay, so now I'm just going to talk about what I really need to talk about for BIO110. First of all, this is really important. We have BIO110 set up for a particular target audience. We think that BIO110 is mostly taken by people that are going to go into the pre-allied health sequence at MiraCosta, which is BIO220, physiology, BIO230, which is microbiology, and BIO210, which is anatomy. Maybe in the sequence that I just gave, or maybe in a different sequence. We're kind of divided in terms of what we think the appropriate sequence is. Personally, I'm in favor of taking physiology first. There are others who think that it's best to take anatomy first. If you're thinking at some point what class you really want to take next, you can have that discussion with me. You could have a discussion with other people in class. I'll be happy to talk about the pros and cons of going one way or the other. But in any case, that's the kind of thing we talk about in BIO110 because most of our students are on that track, right? Now, for that same reason, BIO110 has got to prepare students to have success in BIO220 and BIO230 and BIO210, right? And so those are all three 200 level classes. They're by design a little bit harder, a lot harder than BIO110. And so what we've done is we've taken input from the physio, micro, and anatomy instructors and have shaped the content of BIO110 accordingly, which means we end up going in more depth in BIO110 than you would find in other bio classes that are at the 100 level. Okay, so if you are interested, we have many great courses: 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, and we do not have a 109, right? Bio 102 is ecology. Bio 103 is animal diversity. Bio 104 is botany, study of plants. 105 is genetics and society. And in other words, it's got a main focus for things that are related to molecular biology and biotechnology. Bio 106 is microbiology, not the Bio 230 microbiology, but the microbes and life, what you can really use in life with knowledge about biology of bacteria and viruses and other kinds of microbes, right? Bio 107 is marine biology, and Bio 108 is marine ecology, right? Now, if you are going to be a teacher, or if you are going to be a lawyer, or if you're going to be an economist or a business major, you might not need the depth of information that we cover in Bio 110. Okay? It might be to your advantage to take a course that would be less in depth, it's easier, right? And potentially more enjoyable because you're not continually getting hit by these challenges that are maybe a little bit harder than what is normally necessary for a 100 level class, okay? So what I'm giving you is an opportunity to think, well, maybe this is not the class for me. And if you have an opportunity to switch, get into something else, if I'm not doing this because I don't want you in my class, it's because I think that if you are one of these individuals that would be better served by a different BIO100 class, it would behoove me to let you know without leading you and making you think that, yeah, you really need to continue with BIO110. Let's be transparent and honest about this, okay? Okay, so I'm presuming that if you're still listening, you are either needing the BIO110 focus because you're going into one of those allied health classes, or you're just kind of weird and you want to take a harder bio class because that's the kind of person you are. You need that challenge and you really like the idea of taking a class that will give you more in-depth and almost a professional level of knowledge about biology. I'm say almost, okay, because we're really not that close to what I would expect for our majors. Okay, having done that, let's talk about what it's going to be like taking this class, right? We have two parts, a lecture and a lab. At least in name, the lecture is entirely online, and the lab is a hybrid in which we're actually meeting live as a synchronous class, as a synchronous group for 75 minutes per week. That's required. And we should be going over lab content in that 75 minutes, okay? Now, the reality, which is something that I came up with as I was teaching this class with a lab in person, was that having all the lecture instruction online left a little bit of a gap. And that gap came from the personalized instruction that sometimes really helps. The live instruction, the opportunity to ask your instructor questions, the opportunity to hear your instructor's personal feelings on things, maybe get a little bit of that insider information from a live instructor, right? So in class, we'll be spending a lot of time going over lecture instruction, not a reiteration of what's there in lecture, but more like some reinforcement. I'll be giving you an opportunity to interact. You'll use the annotation functions in Zoom to mark on the board what you think the right answer is, right? So everybody will do that. And we'll see how everybody does. We'll decide whether we need to pursue that content with more discussion. In other words, yeah, it's an interactive class, somewhat driven by live participation by students. And yeah, for that kind of thing, it's a good idea for you to be in class, right? And so we'll do that for about half of our 75-minute meetings. And for the other half, we'll be talking about the lab content. Same kind of thing. You will have already pre-done the pre-lab videos before coming to our class meeting. And so any additional instruction, any additional clarification is going to come as the result of our meeting and talking about things live. Okay. And so, yeah, that's what happens during our 75 minutes of together time every Monday from noon to 1:15. Is it required? Well, yes, actually it is required. If you don't come to the actual live meeting, that's okay. I'm not going to take roll, but I do expect you to go and view the recording of the meeting so that you'll be able to answer the questions that I present to you during the meeting itself, okay? This down here, I don't know why I put it down here, but during each meeting, there will be this thing I call a Zoom Room Challenge, or ZRC, which is going to be like 3 questions, 3 short answer questions that will be relatively easily answerable based on the things we talk about during our meeting. Okay, and so let's say we talk about this, we talk about that. I don't necessarily pre-plan what's going to be there in the Zoom challenge. We talk about stuff, we interact. I say, well, you know what? We talked about this, we talked about that, we talked about this. And so here are 3 questions that I think you guys will should be able to answer as a result of having been in our meeting, right? So yeah, kind of like a proof of life. If you don't go to the actual live meeting, go to the recording so that you have a chance to complete the Zoom room challenge before the due date, and the due date will be before the next meeting, right? 12 noon of the meeting following the time which we give you the Zoom room challenge, right? And so yeah, these lectures are one, covering the lecture and lab content. They're required in the sense that you can either be there in person, which is preferred, or if you have to come to the recording, you can do so, and irrespective of live or recording, you need to complete the Zoom room challenge for the next meeting. Okay. When we actually meet in class, I will presume that you will have completed the lecture instruction for that module, right? So we don't have any lecture modules to talk about on August 22nd, but on August 29th, I will have expected you to complete all the lectures for module 1, right? It's not, I mean, it'll be done anyways, right? Because all of those lectures for module 1, like this one you're taking right now, is going to be due by August 29th at noon. Okay? So it'll be due by then anyways, but I just want you to know that when I launch into the discussion, I'm basically working under the presumption that you've been through the instructions so we can jump in and talk about things without a whole lot of introduction. Okay. Now, the lectures themselves, okay, are videos. They last between 20 minutes and 35 minutes. This one, I think, is going to be longer. I apologize for that. But I have to cover what I have to cover on the syllabus and on the first day. The videos are going to be instruction, covering stuff that's there in the textbook, giving you my own spin, giving you maybe a little bit greater depth where I think it's appropriate. I'm not going to cover everything that's going to be there in the textbook. Sometimes I'll ignore what's in the textbook and give you a completely different take. There's lots of opportunity for me to give you the kind of instruction that I would be giving to a live class, right? There's a lot of instruction there, but the videos also count as homework and quiz, as well as the instruction. The video playback is going to stop, and you'll get a question, like this one. Okay, now, most of the questions are not going to be as easy as that one that you just had, okay? But you will need to have answered all 3 questions in order to get correct. I mean, you have to answer the questions and to move forward in the video. And there are going to be 3 questions in each video, and so each video is worth a maximum of 3 points, right? Now, if you come to a question and you don't know the answer, you can rewind. You can back up and play again until it gets to the point where you answer the question. It will stop again when you need to answer the question. So it won't. It's not going to let you past that point in the lecture video until you've answered the question that's there, right? And so if you want to rewind and answer, you can do that. If you answer a question and don't get it right, you will almost always be able to resubmit, to try again, okay? Okay, it'll say, no, that one's not right. And if you look, there's an opportunity for you to resubmit an answer, right? One time, okay? You can't keep doing this until you get the right answer, right? And there are a couple of exceptions. There are some times where I ask you a true and false question I consider to be pretty easy because we just talked about what the answer is. So if it's an easy true or false question, I'm not going to give you more than one try to answer it. And I will actually tell you in the text of the actual question that you only get one shot at answering this. Okay. And so yeah, the videos are going to be like that. You've already seen what one question is like. You'll be getting 2 more questions before the end of this video that you'll have to complete. And hopefully you'll have 3 points in the bank after having completed this bit of instruction. Okay, I was getting to this point here though. For the videos themselves, I presume that you have already read sections of the text. I showed you earlier that in the essential info page, it said that, well, for lecture 1B, the readings are going to be 1.1, that's chapter 1, section 1, chapter 1, section 2, and chapter 1, section 3. And I want you to pre-read these before you go into the actual video, right? I do talk about what's there in these 3 sections, but I do so with the presumption that you've already been through the readings, right? Now, there may be some occasions in which you do the readings and you don't completely understand what the readings are saying. Don't worry about that. You don't have to completely understand the readings. That didn't come out right. I expect you to be able to read for understanding, right? But if there's something that you're not getting and it's just puzzling you, that's there in the readings, go ahead and view the video and maybe it'll make a little more sense. That's the whole reason why we have those videos. The extra instruction is there to help iron out those things that are challenging, as well as emphasizing the things that I think are most important, right? And so, yeah, you could do the readings, do the video, take notes, take lots of notes as you're going through the readings and the video. And then maybe if you had any concerns, you can go back to the readings again and make sure that you understand everything that was there in the readings. Okay, that would be my recommended procedure for the content of BIO110. Okay. Also, the other thing about the weekly lab meetings, we go over lab content. And so I presume that you will have completed the pre-lab video, which again is due by the start of the laboratory. So obviously you will have done it. The one exception I told you about might be on the very first day. Okay, so on August 22nd, I'm not going to be too shocked and appalled if people have not completed the pre-lab video for the metric system, but you will be better off for having done the pre-lab video ahead of time, and also it will be an expectation starting with the next lab meeting. I've already talked about the Zoom room challenges. The actual lab activity, when you actually complete the lab, you'll be doing so as kind of a self-guided activity, right? So let me demonstrate this for you. Lab packets, lab packets are available as a Google Doc, and you'll make your own copy to complete it electronically. So let me go back to the other share, which is our Canvas page. Okay. And so we don't need to be in the syllabus anymore because you will read that at some point. And so if you scroll down, here is our instruction. Oh, no, here it is. This is the one that you're doing for the first week, Metric System Laboratory. You click on this. This is actually your handout. Click on that. It'll link you out in a couple of steps. You have to click on that, and you get to my Google Drive. So I am the owner of this, and it'll look, so for some people it'll look like this is what you have to complete. No, you cannot type your answers in here and expect it to come to me, right? This is my page. Do not request edit access. Okay? It says request edit access. Don't click that. It's going to send me an email saying that you want access to my page, and the answer is going to be no, right? Now, this is the master copy. Every student has got to come in and make a copy of this. And so if I give you access and you start typing your answers in, that's going to be what the other students get to, right? And that's not the right thing. That's not what we want, right? So what do? It's easy. You get to this page, you come over here and make a copy. Make a copy. It'll make a copy into your own Google Drive. That's easy enough. And once you have your own copy, you can do whatever you want to that. You can fill in your answers. This is what I mean by completing it electronically. And as you scroll through this, you'll realize that there's a lot of things for you to do, and there are little videos on that you link to. You click on the video, you get to a YouTube. This will be Professor Hull. Oh, no. We really, okay. Yeah, so this is a video where you've got Professor Hull, who is demonstrating how to measure a desk for length. Okay, and so yeah, you don't really need to see that, right? And so the labs will be largely kind of virtual activities where in a real lab you would be doing the activity yourself, but in this virtual world, the work will be done for you, and you'll kind of watch passively, but try to make this as active as you can. Basically, visualize yourself going through the same steps and using the information that you see on the videos. You'll record the length of the lab bench. An answer will go in here, and you complete the entire lab packet all the way to the end. Basically, everything that is for which you've got little boxes, right? Those are things that you can fill in. I will expect those boxes to be filled in when I go through and grade the lab packets, right? And you get to the very end, there's a post-lab question. Sometimes there are two, it's only one here. And so, yeah, this is the essay. Don't do this just to be pounding out some characters. Put some thought into answering this question, right? We want this to be a learning activity. And if you just go through the motions, you're not getting anything out of the laboratory. It's just the way it is, right? And so I will be able to tell people that are actually reading the question, thinking about it, and actually putting together an answer that is meaningful and addresses what is requested in the question. Okay. And that's it. And when you get to the end, you'll be saving. It'll save automatically. As you do this, it'll save automatically into your Google Drive. Then you can download it as a Microsoft Word. Right? So I recommend that you download it as a Word document, either after you complete it or before you complete it. Right? You can download it as a Word document, and then you'll upload the Word document, which is your completed lab work, to Canvas, right? And so let me show you how to do that. Okay, you'll in from Canvas. The due date for this is going to be August 29th. So this is the lab packet that we just talked about. Down here, where it says completed metric system laboratory, click on that. And you'll be able to click on Start Assignment, and you can choose the file. You could upload from your computer. You can actually upload directly from Google Drive. Okay, so I was lying. You don't even have to download it as a Microsoft Word document. You could upload it directly or cross-load it directly from Google Drive into Canvas, right? So questions? I didn't think so. Pretty easy stuff, right? Okay, so back to the home area. I'll go back to my whiteboard share. Okay, so you got a good picture at this point about what the lab activities, how you download the box packet. Don't request access from the instructor. Make your own copy, complete it electronically. When it's done, you can load it into Canvas directly from Google Docs, or you can download it onto your hard drive if you prefer doing things that way. Okay. Some people actually prefer to just download it as a Word document and work on it in Word and then upload the Word document. That works as well. Okay. The one thing about Canvas is that it does not like pages. No pages. I don't remember what no, Pages is like a word processing system that is native to Apple, and I just have major problems every time somebody tries to upload a document that is formatted Pages, and Canvas simply will not read those things. And so if you have Pages, not too much of a problem. You want to export it as a Microsoft Word document or a PDF or some format that is compatible with Canvas. It's just that Pages itself is not compatible. Okay, now a little bit of a serious talk. The exams are going to be time limited. You'll have 120 minutes to complete a 100-point test. They will be all short answer, no multiple choice. They will be open book, open note, and open internet. In other words, you'll have access to all of your notes. Hopefully, you'll only use your notes. That will be the only thing you need, because if you have notes from the lectures and that has all the information you need to answer the questions, then you know that you'll be answering the questions in the same context, in the same light that it was presented in the lecture. Okay? The risk of using the internet, the risk of using Google to answer a test question is that you might, Google might read the question that you ask in a slightly different light with a different interpretation, and the answer might take a different direction compared to the direction that I expect from students having been through the instruction of the class. And so if you give me one of those twisted out answers, it might technically be correct. You might be able to argue on a technicality that it's the correct answer, but it's not an adequate answer because the objective of the class is based on what we cover in the content of the class, not what you dig up on Google. I hope that makes sense. I mean, there are lots of things you can find on Google that might be wonderful information. They might be entirely true, but doesn't really answer the question if my question is presuming the same context that we used in our discussions in class. Okay, so be aware that those answers will probably not be getting a whole lot of credit. Okay. The other thing is that since we have the instruction in person, since going online, we're all realizing that there's a huge opportunity for students to not be entirely honest players. Okay? And so I want everybody to realize that by continuing with this class, by taking examinations in BIO110, you are agreeing to the standard rules of academic honesty, which in this case specifically means that you will not share or receive any information about the examinations. Okay? And that means with anybody in the class now, with anyone in the class from a past semester, with anyone in the class in a future semester. So yeah, do not share the information from the exams with anybody who's taking BIO110 in the future. That's the expectation. And your academic honesty should last not only through the semester in question, but pretty much for eternity. Okay. This includes any intermediate means. So if you post an exam on Chegg or on Course Hero, and I find out about it, I can ask Chegg to identify the IP of the person who posted it, and I get who did it, and I let people know, right? This happens. And so, yeah, there's that. By all means, I don't want to discourage people from using Chegg because there's a lot of good study information that's there, right? But what I don't want to see is the use of Chegg for things that are inappropriate. And Chegg's rules actually specify that exams are not allowed. They do not condone that, and anybody that does will be violating the rules of Chegg, right? And so, yeah, I think we have to be on the same terms, or at least you might not agree with me, but I want you to realize that there will be this zero tolerance policy on any exams that come in with that are appearing to be copied from other users. Okay? And this doesn't matter whether you are the copier or the person whose work is being copied. You don't want to share information about the tests. You don't want to share answers. These are all things that are going to be subject to pretty severe penalties. Okay. Now, we can leave that gloomy box behind, and now we can talk about the other things, one of which is the discussion board. I mentioned before that you have a total obligation of 26 points for the entire semester. And so you don't need to feel obliged to post on every question. In fact, we don't want you to do that because we want to give other people an opportunity to post their answers. So I would recommend that you post a new answer to no more than one question per week, per module, right? You can answer one question straight up, and if you see other answers that are posted and you want to contribute to the board by adding to their answer or by giving a different perspective on the answer. In other words, if you're going to be contributing by giving something that's different from what's already posted, then by all means do that. And I will be happy to credit you for those posts as well. You can get just as much credit for a contribution to an answer as you get for actually posting your own original answer, right? So basically, I'm pretty generous with credit for all forms of contribution to the discussion board. The only exception to this is when a person posts an answer that is giving the same information than what somebody has already put up there, right? And so let's look at the board. I've got a couple of things to share with you. First of all, there is an assignment that's due like right now, right? You can do this right away. If you go to the discussion board, one thing that we have right off the bat is a self-introduction forum. Okay? And so click on this. Okay, so if I click sometimes and it doesn't go right away, it's because they've got this new tablet and it's not very good. I'm regretting not investing in a Wacom tablet. I got this stupid XP tablet and I kind of hate it. So for right now, there's that. So I've already posted board, and if you were to click on reply here, you would be able to post your own answer. So I'll do it again. Okay, so if I want to make my own post, I'll type something in here. I'll post the reply, and so this might be your self-introduction, and it comes out down here, right? And so I did that just so you know how to make your own post, how to post to the discussion board, and you want to do that with the reply button that's at the very top, because if you read my self-introduction and you click on the reply that's right underneath it, you'll be able to make some reply to my post. Maybe you have a question about my chickens, right? And so you'll ask something, well, what kind of chickens do you have, Jeff? And we could start a discussion that way. But if you don't want to do that, if you want to post your own self-intro, you'll do that by going up to the top. And if you want to reply to something that's already been posted, you can do that. There's no reason why you can't contribute to the discussion by saying hello to somebody who's posted their introduction already, right? It's a good introduction to the board, and you can get up to 2 points for posting to this particular board. Now, if we actually go to the content-based discussions, module 1 discussion, I've already posted some potential starting points for the discussion. So I've got 10 questions here, 10 posts, and they all correspond to things that I think you should be able to answer, having gone through the instruction in module 1. And so maybe you've got a good answer for the first one, you'll click on reply, type your answer in, and that will be the thing, that will be like your answer, right? So if you answer this one, then hold off. Don't answer more than one, because we've got 30 people in the class and we've got 10 questions here, right? And so yeah, only 10 people are going to be able to will be able to post original answers to this first board. But if all 10 have been taken, you can still get credit for contributing to the board by adding something to a post that's already been made, right? Maybe I gave one illustration of the property of sensing and responding to important changes in the environment in a living organism. Yet somebody could illustrate with one example, and you might be able to illustrate the same thing with a completely different example, right? That would not be replicating what somebody else has posted. That would be adding, that would be illustrating using a different example. And I'm perfectly fine with that, right? So we could have 30 people giving their own illustrations of sensing and responding to changes in the environment. And that will be perfectly good because none of them are going to be replications of what somebody else has already posted, right? And so, yeah, there are going to be plenty of opportunities for you to post originally, to start a discussion, to actually start the response to the discussion. And there'll be plenty of opportunities for you to contribute to the board, even if you're not the first person to post, okay? And remember that you don't even need to post every week because all you need are 26 points total for the semester. Anything beyond that will be considered bad extra credit. I'm not even going to talk about what bad extra credit is. This time we'll save that for a discussion that we have in a live class. All right, let's go back to our original share. Now that you know all about the discussion board, right? Go back to the whiteboard. And the last thing that we have for me to talk about is the requirement of a meeting with me, a one-on-one meeting with me, okay? It'll last 10 minutes. Okay, you have to come at least once, and we'll talk about probably your lecture notes, okay? Now, I call them Oxford tutorials because I'm basically modeling this after something that I saw done in the Oxford colleges in England. So if you don't know, the famous universities in England are in one cluster in Oxford, there's another cluster in Cambridge, and they're both ancient colleges and universities. They've been around since like the 1600s in some case. Know that for a fact. It's like we're ridiculously old. Right? Now, one thing about these colleges is that part of the curriculum is for all the students. Every student has got to have 1 hour per week of tutorial where they sit down one-on-one or sometimes two-on-one with an instructor. In other words, you get an hour of personal time in conversation with your instructor every week, right? Which I think is great. Right? You get to talk about a lot of stuff, course content, your personal ideas of where you want to go in as a scholar. There are lots of things you could talk about. It gives the student a much better feel for how they're progressing in the content, gives the instructor a much better feel for how the students are progressing through the content, relative to just the results you have in examinations. It's nice for me to be able to have that one-on-one interaction so that I can actually know what to expect when you do the work on your examinations, right? We'll be using this to go over your lecture notes. And so I'll ask you questions that I think you should be able to answer from your notes. If you answer them, that's great. If you can't answer them, let's look at your notes. Why don't you have this in your notes? What can you, do you remember when we talked about this? There should be a page in your notes right here where it talks about this. And there should be a picture that looks like this, right? And so that's the conversation that we typically have. And students that answer all my questions get 8 points. Students that cannot answer any of my questions, but get information that is useful for them, get 8 points. Right? We're talking about an 8-point assignment, right? That even if you don't succeed in answering questions, it can be useful, right? The only time that students schedule Oxfords and they don't get the 8 points is if they come to the Oxfords with no notes, right? The whole point of the Oxfords is for us to evaluate your notes. If you don't have any notes to evaluate, that would be a problem, okay? If you're completely unprepared, and that's the reason why you're not able to answer the question, then our meeting, when the only thing I come up with is that, well, you are not prepared and you have no notes. That's not useful for you, right? And so, yeah, I'm not going to give you credit for that. But if you have notes for us to evaluate, I think of it as kind of like a test drive for your notes. It's always going to be useful. Yeah, either you're going to find out that your notes are good and you'll feel good about that. You're in a good position to prepare for the test, or you're going to see that, you know what, there might be a few gaps. I thought my notes were pretty good, but evidently I need to kind of make things more complete because I'm realizing that he asked me this question, and if he asked me this question on the test, I would not be able to answer it from my notes. I would have to go back to the lectures and rewatch the lectures in order to answer the question, which is going to take way too much time, or I could have to risk going to Google and asking Google what the answer is, in which case I risk answering the question in an inappropriate context. And so, really the best source for my answering the question is the lecture notes. And if my lecture notes are not up to snuff, I want to be able to know that as early as possible. Okay. And so, we're going to be having a one-on-one meeting like this. You'll be scheduling this with a sheet on Canvas. Let's go back. Canvas one more time. Let's go to the home area. I want to also point out to you the fact that on the essential info page, I've got some notations here for the Oxford tutorials. I'm listing those weeks with double asterisks. These are the suggested weeks for you to have your Oxford meetings, right? In the double X weeks, those are exam weekends weeks, and so I do not discuss class content with students while students might be taking the test. Right? So no Oxford tutorials during the period which you're taking the tests. For the next couple of weeks, you probably don't have enough notes for us to evaluate. And so like for the first few weeks, 29th, September 5th, September 5th is Labor Day anyways, so that's a short week. But starting on September 12th, you'll have enough lecture notes for us to be able to sit down and give your notes a test drive. Oh yeah, now give me an example of an emergent property. I can do that, it's in my notes right here. The emergent property is this, right? And so that would be a good answer. Well, wait, emergent what? Okay, well, that should have been there in your notes from lecture 1B. What do your notes from lecture 1B look like, Mr. Student? Okay, and then the conversation will progress from there. And then we'll ask another question. That'll go on for 10 minutes. And by the end of 10 minutes, I'll give you a little bit of a summary and say, well, your notes are great. You think you're in a very good position to prepare for the test, or, your notes are mostly good, but you're having a little bit of trouble finding stuff, right? The information is actually there in your notes. But if you can't find the information that's there in your notes, that's not as good as being able to find the information right away, right? Or maybe there are holes in your notes because you were not complete enough in recording the things that you need to record notes. Right? And so there are lots of things that can come about as a result of one of these meetings. And I think of it as personalized instruction and also giving you an opportunity to, ahead of time, we call them formative assessments, giving you an assessment that's going to actually help you in your learning process. That's kind of the objective of what we're doing with the Oxford tutorials. Okay, so that's it for this video. Again, this video is longer than what you'll be seeing in the future, but it is what it is. And here we go with your final question. There's always going to be a question at the very end. So here it is.